You're listening to Traumedy, the podcast that helps you take your pain and play with it. I'm Nancy Norton. I'm a comedian. I am a registered nurse, although I'm not practicing now. I am a keynote speaker about the power of humor, why we need it, how it helps us in so many ways. I will be presenting at the Nurse Educators Conference of the Rockies coming up this month. And we just got back from Juneau, Alaska, where we brought Nurses Off the Charts and Moms Unhinged, the comedy show. And I gotta tell you, it was a very special trip. The people are so nice, and I went on this amazing whale watching trip, and I saw whales and gorgeous hikes, and highly recommend Juneau, Alaska if you haven't been. Next week, we're taking Moms Unhinged back on the road to Nashville. Actually, that's this week, the end of this week. And happy Pride, June 22nd. I am doing a Pride show at the Bug Theater in Denver, Colorado with a bunch of funny comedians. It's going to be fantastic. That's this Saturday, June 22nd at the Bug Theater in Denver. And then Nurses Off the Charts will be back on the road. In July, we're going to be in Springfield, Missouri. And August, we're back in Colorado Springs. And lots of Moms Unhinged shows between now and then. Go to my Linktree to see all the dates. Thank you for tuning in. I do hope this is helping you. It's helping me. Traumedy is giving me perspective, and I'm learning so much. This week we have an amazing guest who's super informed. He's written books about humor. He's a professor. Wait till you hear this. It's going to be fantastic. I actually love this episode, and I did bank some very special, let's just say, colorful content. Once we start our subscription service, we'll have some of that content available behind the scenes. And what else do you want to know? Anything at all, let me know. Send me a message through my website, nancynorton.tv. And as always, no matter what, keep laughing. That's the key. If you can gain perspective, of course, sometimes you got to cry first. It's okay. You've got to feel all the feelings. We're not just here to laugh. We want to feel everything back to a state of rest and digest. Enjoy this episode. Okay, welcome to Traumedy. My guest this week is everything. He's omni, but you've done everything. You're a professor, you're a writer, you're a podcaster, you've done comedy, and you're what did I just read? That was amazing to me. A psychological economist?
Behavioral economist, yes.
Oh, behavioral economist. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Pete McGraw. How was that for the weirdest intro?
I love it. It's actually incredibly flattering. Now, of course, I haven't done all those things at the same time, right? That's if you live long enough and you try, almost anyone can become a Renaissance person, I think, because it just adds up over time, right? Like you just look back, you list them all, and you just go, wow. But a lot of those things happened serially.
However, right now, are you a professor right now?
I'm afraid so, yes. I'm still a professor.
You are a college professor at CU Boulder.
Yes.
And you are a podcaster for Solo.
That's right, yes.
You're an author of this amazing book, Solo, Building a Remarkable Life on Your Own.
Of your own.
Oh, excuse me.
Because we need other people.
All right, let me say it again. Solo, Building a Remarkable Life of Your Own.
Yes.
We'll fill in the blanks. Thank you for telling me that. And then I first met you when you were doing your research and you were doing comedy and you wrote The Humor Code.
Yes. Do you remember how we met?
I feel like I see you at what is the old beer garden place?
Oh yes.
I feel like we're in the wings there, and
right.
maybe you've already written the book and you are doing a set, or no, I don't know if you're doing a set. I don't know what you're doing there. You're hanging out, we're talking, and I'm just starting doing these keynote presentations about the power of humor, therapeutic humor, benefits for health, wealth, and happiness. Right. And you're like, hey, and then I said, may I talk with you about this? Maybe you could help me. And then, like a lot of professors who I've talked with, my friend Sukumar Vijay Raghavan. I don't know if you've met Sukumar yet, but
I
he's
haven't.
he's a
No.
comic, but he was the head of the neuroscience department at CU Denver Medicine.
Okay.
Anyway, he's like, well, on a neurological level, we really don't know enough to say that humor's therapeutic. But I always just go with anecdotal evidence of one.
I have strong views of this. If you want some backup,
I do.
if you want another scientist,
See, that's what I only can debate with my anecdotal evidence of one and the peer-reviewed studies I've read.
yeah. So so this is a little bit of a walk down memory lane because our friendship goes back at least to 2018 because you were episode number 5 of my previous podcast, which is called "I'm Not Joking."
And I wasn't. That joke was not, I mean, I had like, I don't think I had any laughs on that one, but wow. Okay. And how many episodes of that one? Is it still out there where people can find it?
It's still out there. It's 100 episodes. I think 101, and then I sunsetted it. And then also you were very kind. I was giving like some talks to a bunch of senior types on campus, and you came in and did some stand-up. I don't know if you remember this. We did.
I do. Yeah. I remember being in that lecture hall and sort of
yes,
fake it till you make it kind of feeling. I remember the feeling in my body is fake it till you make it, Nance.
No one can tell.
And when you say senior folks, you don't mean people of my age. You mean seniors.
I mean really old people, not just plain old.
Oh, I thought you meant like college seniors.
No, like seniors.
Oh, okay.
Like retired people.
All right. Yes. I couldn't remember the ages of the people. I thought there was one we did for students. I remember some students being there.
Everybody listening is like, who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Your walk down memory lane. Get to why humor is actually therapeutic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the first one is that like laughter is good for you. You know, it doesn't have a big effect, but it's good for you. It's healthy. You know what I mean? I
will argue that it does have a big effect because I read peer-reviewed studies that says it raises your NK cells, natural killer cells, circulating your body constantly that scan your body for cancer cells, viruses, and everything else. So I say absolutely has a big effect, but go back to you. Back to you, Pete.
Yeah, well, you're better read on this than I am, mate, perhaps. But there are 3 other ways that let's say comedy or humor help with regard to coping. The first one is it creates positive emotions. And positive emotions are incredibly important for our health, our well-being, our immune system. And so a life with more positive than negative is generally a better life. And comedy is one way to get some extra positive emotions in your life.
Having an optimistic outlook.
That's right.
It's an fun. Expansive place. And it also, you have to use all the major lobes of your brain to get a joke, takes you out of that kind of, I get into victim energy sometimes. It takes you out of that victim energy and gets you into that expansive, creative problem-solving energy. Yeah, man. What's the third thing?
The third one is that comedy can help you reframe bad things into less bad things.
And that's what we're doing here with comedy.
Right. Yes, indeed.
Look at you. Brought it right back here.
And so as I say that things that are funny are things that are wrong yet okay. They're benign violations.
That's what you came up with. And you did I'm impressed with all the research you guys went around the world trying to find the common denominator, trying to decode the humor code. And that's the theory that you came up with, benign violation theory.
Yes. Things that are wrong yet okay. And so things that are okay are not funny. They're pallid. Things that are just wrong are not funny. They're upsetting. But if you can make both of these things happen at once, you create positive emotion. And so the nice thing about it, I have a paper about humorous complaining. I think you're a big humorous complainer. You know, you're not a serious complainer. Like when something's wrong, you make a joke about it.
Yep.
Right. And so if you think about it, like if you're stuck in traffic or the weather's bad, or you're under the weather and you're complaining about it, but in a humorous way, you're making jokes about this thing, it just becomes less threatening as a result of it. And it loses its bite.
Because it gives you a little emotional distance.
Yeah, and it just reframes how bad it is. It's no longer a bad thing. It's sort of a source of bad and good, in a way. And so,
Yeah. Sorry.
so that's what I think that's, you hit on this early with regard to your orientation in this podcast, which is like you take your tragedies in life and can you find a way to find some comedy in them? It helps with some distance, of course, but that also helps you then reframe or reappraise, as we like to say, these experiences.
I love these bites. I'm going to grab all these sound bites and put them on the intros of every episode.
Right on.
No, seriously, this is you're so concise with it. And go ahead. I see another thought forming there.
There's a fourth. And this one I think is really, really fascinating. And it's not obvious, I think. And it's this. When we're experiencing tragedy in life, some challenge, an important way to cope with it is through social support, is through our romantic partners, our friends, our family, even coworkers who they chip in, they help, they support us, they listen to us, they give us advice, they do all these kinds of things. Well, we happen to like people who are funnier than people who are less funny. And we've all had this friend who has like a bad boyfriend or a bad girlfriend or a bad boss or whatever. And all they do is just complain about it. And at first you want to be a good friend and you want to listen and you want to support them. But after weeks of this, you're like, I can't, and you just start to withdraw. Well, if this person's funny and if they are able to humorously complain, and if they end up being good company and they entertain you with their stories, it becomes easier to support them. It's this weird irony, which is the person who needs less support, the person who's already transforming these challenges into comedy, has people rallying around them because they're likable. And then that like sour, what's the character from oh my goodness, Winnie the Pooh, the Eeyore,
yeah,
right? The Eeyore type person really needs the support, but they're not getting it because they push everyone away.
It's a perfect irony of life that these folks that don't have this resource end up more isolated and alienated. And that's one thing. I don't know that people can learn humor, but I hope they can learn a little bit of this technique, because sometimes what I just show people is exaggerate it to the point. It's sort of like the old ridiculoso spell on Harry Potter. Like what I remember this happening to me when I was in my, and I was sharing earlier, my victim energy, which is that, and you're just such a suck when you're in that victim energy. It's like, fix it out there. Somebody fix it. I'm helpless. I'm identifying. That's why I wear this shirt. You can't see it because the sunlight's on it, but it says Crybaby Badass. And anyway, the point is, I was driving my son. I was going through this horrible breakup with a sociopath. This safe house had told me I was with a sociopath for 11 years. And I mean, I was in my victim energy because it was like I had lost my house. I'd lost my good, my whatever that is, my good standing in society. I'd been arrested for throwing a guitar. I was going through a lot of trials and tribulation, working 12-hour shifts, and I had a toddler, and I was just like, fuck. Anyway, but I was driving my son to preschool in the morning, and there was always this construction on North Broadway, and his preschool's on South Broadway. And there was just, and one day I was just like, I'm going to be late. They're going to fire me. And then I'm going to be homeless, and I'm going to be under a bridge with my son, and no one's going to bring us vegetarian chili, And somehow when I got to the vegetarian chili, I was like, yeah, man, that's what it's all about. I want to pick my own chili because I've had homeless people.
That's what got you out of it.
Yes. And I've had homeless people turn down my vegetarian offerings when I was cooking on the beaches. I was doing dal bhat on camping trips, making like Nepalese food because my son's from Nepal. And then these homeless people would come by, can I have a plate? And I go, sure. I make them lentils and rice and vegetables. And they're like, where's the meat? Like I was like, I get it, man.
How hungry are you?
Not very. They did not want my lentils. But anyway, so exaggerating it, I think people can learn that.
Okay.
Maybe they're not going to be stand-up comedian. Maybe they're not going to kill with it. But that's what I want for people at home. This is what I want for this podcast. And this is why I'm called to do it. And I know I add this every time, but I have been called by a recovery program for codependency. We are magnets for the sociopaths. Anyway, point is, I am called to do this because I want to help other people who are in that dark, dark place that are having trouble finding anything funny and are isolated and feel like nobody's been through anything like I've been through. And I just want to, and if I can just even make them laugh a little, like, hey, let me show you some of my shit. And then also like maybe a tool or two. So that's the goal.
I think that's wonderful. So you happen to talk to the right person, not because I've lived a particularly tragic life, but because I spent an entire year examining this question, can you make people funnier?
Yeah.
And
What did you find?
my conclusion was, yes, you can,
Hmm.
but I don't want to do the research that proves it.
Okay.
Because it's not easy.
Yeah, there's so many variables.
It's very hard. It's very hard to do. I think it takes some doing. Here's my best evidence that you can make people funnier, and it's this. Are you a funnier comic now than when you started?
I am definitely more skilled at getting a whole room to laugh.
Yeah. So you can learn these things. Now, some people you started at a much higher level than the average person, and you've dedicated your life to it. So it's not an easy process in the way that most, like, if you're not a good speaker, for example, you don't give good speeches, you can get better at that, but you need to learn, you need to get feedback and so on in that way. So I think that it can be done. Although, of course, my thing is always, it's much easier to find ways to laugh than it is to find ways to make people laugh. And so lean in on the appreciation side of things.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that tip. When I do the Power of Humor presentations, I also pair it with a workshop, a little breakout session called Practicing Playful Presence.
Like it.
Yeah, and I try to just help people. Like, the idea is not to try to be funny, because that is where we get in trouble. Even as a comedian, and I'm like, I gotta be funny right now. It's like, ugh, that is just the death of jokes. And I was gonna say, backing up before I finish that thought, because my ADHD kicks in real hard, but I just want to say, even though I've worked on these skills to command, or maybe that's too strong of a word, that's more about like commanding a room, but getting a whole room to vibe and laugh together, I would say that the comic in the back of the room might think, oh, I'm less funny. Because sometimes when I am an entertainer and I know how to like try to find as much common denominator as I can, and I'm very intuitive, but I don't know that I'm actually funnier. I just think that I'm better at getting a whole room to laugh. So that's a little different than defining funny, or, but according to whom, the average person or the comic's comic, like Maria Bamford, Tig Notaro. I just think there's just certain comics where I might hit better statistics with if like, say, nobody knew who they were. In fact, Tig used to open for me, and then I used to open for her, and I'm telling you, I can hit statistics higher.
Yeah, your laughs per minute are higher than hers.
Yeah, but she gets a very loyal following in that 10 or 15% who get what she's doing.
Yes.
I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation about what is funny, but getting laughs.
Yeah, I think that, but I mean, you have to remember who pays you.
That's what I do. I am a single mom. I am living this solo life right here. I am a single mom. I call myself a single stay away from home mom. I have got bills, dude. I am a working comic.
You're hustling.
I'm hustling. Yeah. So I digress. But the practicing playful presence, I don't know what you think about this, but I work with a lot of folks who live in a different hemisphere of the brain than I do. I tend to live in this right hemisphere that's very intuitive, very artsy fartsy. And then I struggle when I have to do my PowerPoint, and I call it a powerless, pointless presentation, because I struggle, as you see, with linear thought. And also when I go over there, I just am having trouble finding the funny. So, but I work with a lot of folks who live and are scientists or business people living in this left hemisphere predominantly, that's logical and linear. And my goal is to teach them to not think. And that is hard, but I have little ticks.
Well, can you do one on me? I'd love to stop thinking for a bit.
Sure. Well, all right. So the first thing we do is get into our body. Okay. so that and I don't know if you can do it sitting down, but you probably can, we can just do it with your arms. So we
Okay.
do a lot of just physical things, and we get in a big circle, and I go, look, we're going to allow ourselves to be silly. I hand out little pendants that say, I am in the present moment for now. And I go, this is where the joy is. Yeah. Thank you for getting that. Not everybody does, but it's always now. So wear it all the time. But yeah, so I give them that. And then I'm like, we are just practicing getting in the present moment. This is where the joy is. This is where all the improv happens. We're not ever, going to try to be funny or be clever. Like, that's really an interesting concept. And we are going to embrace failure. Okay. So these are some of our philosophies. So the first thing we would do is pass a sound back and forth, an emotion. So I'm just trying to tell you, permission to be silly. Like if we were doing an SM game,
Right. Right.
I would go, game on. Here's your safe word. Okay. Silly. Like if it's too silly for you, but I would, just kind of like we're a container for the game. Just like there is with SM or B&D or whatever, there's a container that this is a safe place to let it out, be silly, and role play.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to pass a sound and then an emotion, and you pass it back. That's all.
All right.
Just,
right on.
okay. All right. Bleep.
Bleep.
We're done.
Okay, good. That's fun. But I could see how that would.
But then it goes around, and then we add different things. Then we just slowly but surely we start integrating actual words, and it's a process. But then I have them get up in front of the class and say either a real or imagined failure and take a bow. So it's called like, I failed, ta-da, and then we all clap like, today I burned the toast, ta-da, and then they take a bow.
Right.
So
I love it.
permission to fail is the first thing. We get them over the fear.
Yeah.
And it goes on. And then by the end of it, they're doing like, what is that? Shark Tank. A lot of times I'll have them get up in groups of like 5 and try to pitch to the audience a very ridiculous product. And I don't know. I'm always a little nervous. Like, what if this time it doesn't work? Every single time, the subconscious, if we can allow the brilliance, the infinitely more neurons in the subconscious to percolate through and just get our logical, linear, conscious thinking out of the way and allow what wants to come through, it's amazing what they do. And it relates to their business, to their fears, anxieties, and huge laughs, and then good night. Thanks for hearing that.
It sounds fun. Yeah, it sounds really fun. There's actually a board game, something like Business Walrus, that's similar to this, where you get to do fun pitches and I think with my friends who tend to be in that world a little bit, they really like that.
Ooh, that sounds, because you're in the business department, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, I'm in the marketing department, but also like a lot of my friends are kind of entrepreneurs and so on. So when I do a game night, someone brings Business Walrus, it seems reminiscent of this, of this thing. Although we're probably not as forgiving of failure.
Well, and that's when you're with good friends. I know it is more fun when like somebody dies, but we try to make it like less threatening. Well, that's a lot about me in the first half hour of the podcast. I want to talk more about you and your journey. And I really do want to hear because I know when I met you, you said you were raised by a single mom. You knew I was a single mom, and it felt like a bonding thing with us. Like I felt you were willing to help me a little more because you knew it's kind of hard to be a single mom. And I mean, how does your background play into all that you've been, like your books and your...
Yeah, it's so funny because I think this recent book has forced me to reminisce a little bit more and to kind of connect some dots that had been unconnected. Because you have to answer this question. You don't have to answer this question, but it's a question. No one ever goes, so Nancy, why did you want to get married? Right? Like people never ask that question. They just assume you want to get married. But if you don't, if you find yourself at 54, as I am, as a lifelong bachelor, never, so never married, no kids, and sporting a vasectomy, people will say to you,
Put that out there to the ladies.
my vasectomy anniversary is October 11th. And
All right, cheers, man. Happy.
yes. And one of my favorite lines is want to help me celebrate.
Yeah, that's a great line.
It gets a chuckle. It always gets a chuckle. So so you have to answer this question, like, why do you, not why are you comfortable being single? That's a different question, but why do you like being, like why do you want to be single, or why don't you want to get married? Why don't you want to have a family and so on? And I would say, that's a complicated answer, but the first thing that really did come to mind is my childhood. I wouldn't characterize it as a happy-go-lucky childhood. I certainly had play in my life, and it wasn't a life that was like especially abusive, or I mean, we were never homeless, like, but it was a life that was tenuous, and it was a life that had some emotional challenges in particular. My mother, I think, did a sort of strikingly good job raising us, given her circumstance. She had a pretty sizable personality disorder that I
Oh,
only later figured out. As a kid, how do you know that your parent has these problems?
I know.
So that was very hard, and so I never had role models that made me believe that this was a path to happiness, right? This was My parents' marriage and divorce was a tragedy, right? It was the worst thing to ever happen to them. They never recovered from it. Their lives, both just continued to get worse and worse. And so I write about this in Solo, that this is a bizarre conversation to be having as a 15-year-old, but my lunch table was answering the question, when will you get married? So this is 1985. Average age of first marriage was 25. And the guys going around the table were sort of like, soon after college. Like, that was kind of, 25, that's when you kind of do this kind of thing. And I was already putting it off. I was like, I probably won't get married till after I'm 30. Like, what the hell do I know what, the
Yeah,
future holds? And
there was
so
something in you that knew,
that,
let's push
yes,
that down the road.
yes, that's right. The other thing that I realized, which I think made my prospects of being single easier, was I became very comfortable with solitude very young. And I did so in part as a defense mechanism. Like, so when I was up in my room and the door was closed, I was away from the chaos.
Yeah, self-contained.
I was, yes. And I would do my homework up there, but I was also a voracious reader.
Oh, that's great for you.
And so I got to escape into these other worlds, and I could entertain myself. I wasn't an asocial kid. I wasn't a shy kid, but I became very comfortable with my time alone. It was really a safe haven for me. And I just, with time, came to believe that there was a big, exciting world out there, and that I wanted to experience all of it. And as a kind of very provincial, lower middle class, working class kind of, South Jersey boy, I I got, once I got a taste of college, and then I got a taste of kind of travel and so on. I just, the idea of like settling down was the furthest thing from what I wanted to do. I wanted to have sex, I wanted to fall in love, I wanted a girlfriend, but only up until a point, like
Yeah, but wanted your freedom more.
I did. I remember having a girlfriend who, and this happens because, like, I was living, as I like to say, a remarkable life, right? So a woman would meet me and be like, "Wow, this guy's interesting. He's doing interesting things. He travels, he's writing books, he's doing this stuff." And then we start dating, and then I'm packing for a trip, and I get, "Oh, you're traveling again?" And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, this is what I do, like, but and so that conflict, because what we're supposed to do now, this is changing a lot. And I have some hope, for, especially for younger generations, is that, your partner, your romantic partner, your fellow escalator rider is supposed to be everything. And that person crowds out, has a lot of things, crowds out friends, crowds out family, can have veto power.
Veto power.
You're supposed
I
to do
love that. Yeah.
everything with this person.
Yes, that whole myth that they have to be everything to you and you have to be everything to them, and it's like, oh, so everyone's oh, good, 100% of the people can be disappointed.
It's very hard, so satisfaction, though marriages today are better than they have ever been. They're more egalitarian, right? They're healthier, there's less abuse, all these things.
I didn't know that. I love hearing that, and I honestly did not know. It makes sense to me, but
Yes. But satisfaction with marriage has been steadily decreasing since the 1960s, in
oh,
part because in 1960, 90% of people would get married in the United States. But their expectations for what that marriage was supposed to be was much, much lower than they are now.
especially on the part of the wife.
Indeed. Yes.
I mean,
And so now, because like you're supposed to have the same, sexual proclivities, you're supposed to want the same temperature, you're supposed to want to travel to the same places, you need to eat the same foods, you need to have the same political beliefs, and so on and so forth. It's just this crushing weight of expectations that make this all or nothing, as Eli Finkel calls it, this all or nothing marriage work. It's hard.
yeah, and I don't know about you, but what were these guys called? They do this dating matchmaking, and the myth that I mean, it's not a myth that opposites attract, but the myth that opposites should be together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that whole thing, they are saying artists should be with artists, and that way you get each other. You don't have to constantly try and convince them to understand my point of view. Like I was always attracted to scholars. If I was 10 years younger and your type,
You'd be flirting with me right now.
oh, totally. I would be, come on, Pete. I mean, oh my God, I fell in love with this MIT genius sailor guy, Commander Gary, the whole bondage and discipline thing, but it was,
He knows how to tie knots.
oh, he does, but not those marriage kind. And
oh, well done. Well done.
Dude, and he lured me onto this sailboat. I spent 3 weeks like on a sailboat, and I'm so stubborn. I'm like, I'm going to see this all the way through, man. But it was a nightmare. It was a total nightmare. We just had like sex. That's all it's remind me of my ex-husband. It's like sex, and now you read a book and I'll read a book. Okay. And it's just that I want to talk about ideas and blah, blah, blah. So, okay. What do you think about, I don't know. I don't know if I'm taking you off track of where you wanted to go, but what do you think about the idea of opposites? Of course, now, I mean, now that it's not a coupling thing, maybe it's cool to just date or be with or have, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about opposites versus people who have things in common, adventure buddies?
Well, so I think that Esther Perel, I think, has some of the best views of what makes a good marriage. So she has a book called Mating in Captivity, which is a brilliant title. And what she talks about is, obviously you want comfort and connection, right? You want someone that you get along with, you feel safe with them, you understand each other. That it really helps with regard to creating a comfortable, happy relationship. However, if you have too much of that, you lose a lot of excitement. That there is some differences and some complementarity and some distance.
Is it a Venn diagram or?
Oh, I don't know if she does it that way. It's
Okay.
interesting to think about it, but the idea essentially is what makes a relationship hot is novelty.
Oh, yeah,
right?
that's right. The new, the strange.
The new, the different, the,
Yeah.
even a little bit of like, not always matching up. And so what her advice is like, you need both of those things.
Mm.
Um, you need this sort of, we get each other, we have similar identities, similar overlap, etc. But you need a break from each other and you need to do different things. Come together and talk about those things and then have great sex. Really is what her point
Yeah,
is, you know.
that sounds good to me, and
Yeah.
I also think have some wigs. I'm telling you, you put on a wig and, an accent.
Well, I think I mean, I do think that's why
I
this
I mean,
notion of role play,
I
it works.
it does. I
Yeah.
I only, see, I've never made it past 11 years, and I will say, so I've had 2 11-year marriages. Well, one was to a man, one was to a woman.
I don't know if anyone really like has this all figured out about what's the best predictors. I think most of it is like you like each other, you're kind to each other, you're supportive of each other. But all this is so mediated by culture. It's very hard to say what is the best thing that gets people together because they're doing so under these like very strict rules about what they should be looking for and how they should be doing this. So I don't know. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to say like
No, I think it's
in some
important.
cases opposites attract, and I mean having similar values is a good predictor. We know that.
That's a good one. Also, I mean, I'm in the recovery program
Mhm.
for adult children of dysfunctional families, and I'm working a guidebook with a group, Becoming Your Own Loving Parent. And
Uh,
I'm actually seeing, I mean, I'm in my 60s and I'm falling in love with myself, my inner child for the first time. Like I'm really taking care of her and
yeah.
my inner teenager and on and on. And I'm thinking what's come up just now is like, I think if you really love yourself, like truly, and I know that's an abstract thing, but you know it when you feel it. And I'm
Yeah.
just starting to feel this warmth and this sense of I mean, maybe you had more self-love from spending time in your room, nurturing yourself, self-comforting. And I'm an extrovert and I kept trying to get those needs met in my family of origin where I was met with kind of the opposite. Like I got love by being an entertainer, right?
I'm
That's
not surprised. Yeah.
right. And I mean, so I had to learn, yes, to get my attention needs met that way. But point is, I was just curious. Maybe it's about loving yourself, and then I don't know. That's as far as I got. I was just
Well,
thinking if you got with somebody else. I mean, this is my fantasy, and I've just interviewed some polyamorous folks on the podcast, and that they're like a quad. It was a quad. And the pillars of that relationship and the high level of communication they have
mhm.
inspired me, and the fact that it would help me get out of the paradigm, I'm always afraid I'm gonna slide back in. In fact, I broke up with someone just recently because I heard inside my head, "He should do this,
Oh,
should,"
interesting.
and I was like, "Nope, I'm done." As soon as I start shooting on him, I was like, "That's it. I need to not be in a couple," and I just think my codependency comes up too much in a coupling. But
Yeah.
anyway.
These folks who are in non-traditional relationships are really inspirational because they're designing their relationships. They have to communicate. They're typically practicing what's called compersion or anti-jealousy. And
Yeah.
all of these things would benefit the traditional relationship folks who don't do this, who aren't honest, who aren't designing, who are jealous.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot to be learned. I feel like there's like a book idea, which is like what the nuclear family can learn from, the freaks of the world,
I like that.
you know.
I like that.
Um, can I so you said something about being a good parent to yourself, and I really think that's wonderful because it's actually one of the characteristics of a solo.
Oh,
So I think we should do a little quiz here, which is to
okay.
see, is Nancy Norton a solo? We know you're single.
Yes.
We know you're single, but the question is, so I like to say, not all singles are solo, not all solos um, are single, right?
Okay, and then if I am a solo, does that just mean I qualify, or I'm the kind of person that could do solo life well? In
Yes,
my
or do relationship life well. I actually believe the solos can operate really well within a relationship, within a romantic relationship. So, um, we'll go in order, but you've already covered one. But so the first one is that a solo is wholehearted. They see themselves as a complete person, not half of a whole.
Yes,
Good. That's
yes,
the most important one. And that's important because there are probably people listening right now who have this movie playing in their head where they are in this temporary space, this
no,
less than space,
oh,
waiting to find their person, waiting perhaps hopelessly to find their person.
that says you complete me.
Yes. Oh my
Oh,
God.
a kiss
I
of death.
ah I like Jerry Maguire. I like that film. I hate that scene.
I know.
I hate that scene.
I hate that sentiment.
I do too. It's not fair, right? So it's actually not even fair. It's not fair to yourself because no, you are a whole person.
You are complete.
That's right. And the other one is it's not actually fair to the person you go out with because they're supposed to now do this incredible, amazing thing, and they need to stick around because if they leave, you become half of a person again, and so you end up sort of gripping this thing too tightly.
Oh, yeah.
So what
Nothing's worse than, can I just say it? Obligatory sex. Ah,
I have an ex who's a sex scientist. She called it service sex.
oh, service sex. Well, I don't know. I hope there's some exchange in that one. I don't. Okay.
So that's the first one. Second one you've already alluded to, and is that solos tend to have a sort of self-reliant streak. They tend to have some autonomy. They seek to solve their problems, or as I like to say, they are a good parent to themselves.
Yes, I do that.
Okay.
Yes. However,
Yeah.
here's the caveat. I'm going to confess.
Okay.
If someone is in my proximity, then I'm like, fixed. Can you fix this? But if I'm by myself, like I spent 6 months in Nepal, all by myself during a coup of the government, you know what I mean? Like, and no problem. I did not feel scared. I felt resilient. I have a lot of resilience. But you put someone, like when I broke up with this ex up in the mountains above Boulder with my toddler, and she was just sitting there smoking pot and doing nothing, and I am over functioning in that relationship. I am like, it was so much better when we broke up and it was just me. And I knew it was just me. I have to do it all. I have to do it all. And I will do it all. And you know, my dad's biggest compliment was, you saw what had to be done and you did it. But that's where I had to confess. Like, if you're over here and I'm having a problem with my computer and this is not my hemisphere, I'm like, Pete, can you fix this?
By the way, I don't think there's a problem with that because it's just you seek to solve your own problems, right? And so, what can happen is this. So there are gendered roles, that happen in a heteronormative sense, right? And we know them, right? So caregiving roles for the woman and, money making roles for the man, or it's like the man takes out the trash and the woman makes dinner. There's all these kind of things that happen. And by the way, I think those things are fine if the couple says, honey, you're really good at making dinner and I'm not good at making dinner. Is it okay if you take that as a primary responsibility? I, on the other hand, are good at these other things, right? And so you design your relationship rather than default into those things. Now, what I do believe is this: if you're not good at making dinner, that's fine, but you ought to know how to make dinner.
Yes.
Right? Because what happens is, what if your partner divorces you? What if they die? What if they become disabled? You need to be able to feed yourself and need to be able to feed your family, right? And so I think that having this allows you to have a much more interdependent relationship rather than a codependent relationship.
And that is a huge difference. I'm hearing you. And then also I thought DoorDash, but
So the third one is this, and I already think the answer to this question is going to be yes with you. And that is that solos tend to think unconventionally about relationships.
Hmm.
And they, as by extension, often think unconventionally about life more generally. They question the rules.
Yes, I always have.
Yeah. And comedians, they're professional rule questioners.
Yeah, it helps when you grow up a tomboy too, where it's like, what the hell? I can climb a tree, I can give me different shoes.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're right. It does help if you're a little outside the norm to begin with, or have a weird eye or something. It makes you think differently when you are somehow made different to begin with.
Yes. You're an outsider.
You're an outsider. Yeah. And I have always been on the periphery, even when I'm in like I was in this activist group in Boulder called Vox Feminista, but I was just, Lesbo the clown. And I I was sort of around the edges, but it is hard for me to be inside.
Even that, what's so funny about this, Nancy, is you're part of this counterculture group and you're finding it difficult to be in the middle of the
I
counterculture
could,
group.
yes. And I was very unpopular at the meetings because I'm like, you know what we need? Because they're always like, and then this is what's wrong with the patriarchy. And I'll tell you another thing they're doing wrong overseas. And then I'm like, what if we had a confession closet where we're like, I just bought a Starbucks. Like I went to a corporate coffee place.
Right. I had sex with a man.
Oh yeah. I had heteronormative sex. I figured out, this is what's weird about me. I figured out in my lesbian relationship that I am having heterosexual sex with women. I'm like, wait, this isn't lesbian sex. I'm either in the male role or the female role. I realize I was like, I don't know that I'm really lesbian.
By the way, I've never, so that I want to pause and unpack this for a moment because I've never heard this before. I'm not lesbian, so I'm not aware of all the intricacies of lesbian sex. So you're saying that you said I'm having heterosexual sex with a woman. What does that mean?
When I had sex with women, in my experience, I was either embodying the masculine energy of the universe, and I'm going to tell you, it's a spiritual thing for me.
You were channeling your Gary.
I was, but not only that, I was channeling the energy of the loving universe through my crown chakra, and shooting it out my loins.
All right.
Even though there was no penis there, but I'm pushing love into my beautiful partner who I treat like a goddess.
I love it. And by the way, as a heterosexual man, even just your description of that pushing love idea is
that very lesbian?
No, it's actually a really wonderful way to reframe P and the V. Like it's a really wonderful way to think about this thing that could just be very animalistic, right? Two dogs humping.
And it can be. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying, but yeah, when I'm making love. So I was describing making love, but okay. But sometimes it is animal sex.
No, but it doesn't. I feel like these are not mutually exclusive, right? I think the idea is that you can be really naughty and also very loving in terms of that, the actual act being sort of symbolic of the love that you're giving your partner. I think it's a really wonderful idea. I've never heard it before.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it really is, in my mind, channeling I believe that the universe is a loving universe, and channeling the love of the universe and pushing that into a partner and seeing her expand. And I'm a very intuitive lover, and that's what I'm going back to. It's like, it's not like what thing you are into or not into. It's more like what is called for in this particular experience. And I am very intuitive, and I sort of anticipate. I don't want to brag, but I mean, I joke about it in my act. Like, I have 2 moves. If you don't like them, forget about it. But I do think there's that cool psychic connection that's really special. Anyway, I was talking to my friend who has been with men most of his life, and he was, and we got into. I mean, I hurt his feelings because he was saying, and he's like, I just want to have animal sex, and I was like, okay, almost.
Well, I think again, different strokes for different folks, pun intended. Um,
Yeah.
I have not a character, but a real person in Solo. I call him DTLA Josh. So it's a guy I
Okay.
met who lives in downtown Los Angeles, and he unapologetically. I mean, I met him for coffee in DTLA, and very early on in the conversation, I can't remember what came up. He said, "I date my friends, and I have sex with strangers." And so he basically like his love life, quote unquote, is like this rich life of friends in and out of his apartment. He throws these dinner parties, he has dim sum Sundays and bro drink Mondays, and he is just in love with his friends. And then when he gets horny, he just goes on Grinder, and
Okay.
he and I, by the way, I was told to cut this out of the book, even though it's a direct quote from him. He goes on Grinder. He picks his partner, and they show up, they have sex, and he leaves. And he says, "I love my dum-dums." He calls them his dum-dums.
Oh,
And
okay.
so he
And
just
that's
likes a particular type of man who's not a scholar like you like. He's
yeah.
like a very kind of like he's a guy, he's not thinking that deeply about things. And he like has a particular type. He has great affection for these men. They have healthy relations. And
Yeah.
then they come again, they go, and then they're he's out, and then he goes
That's the end of the contract.
back to dating his friends. So
Yeah.
so I think that works for him because he has plenty of love in his life and from other ways.
Yeah. And then it's that excitement of the novelty, you know, that they get their needs met.
Yeah.
Well, this is we've covered some, I think, important ground here. I don't know where I'm oversharing like crazy, but I think I want people to know what's possible. I do. I mean, there's a tantra community here in Boulder.
Okay.
I've heard. I don't know if
That
I'm
seems well suited for you because it sounds like you're already practicing tantra without even knowing it.
Well, gosh, I'm not enunciating. I keep making missteps with words, but what I'm hearing is that that is something to practice solo. To
Yes, you're supposed
practice
to start
tantric.
first. Yes.
Yeah, so that's on my list. And so there was something I think you were going to share that was way back at the beginning when I said, let's start, let me introduce you.
I think one of the things to take away from this conversation broadly is this perspective on growth, right? That, whether you be in your 50s or 60s or younger or older, there's a never ending list of possibilities for growth, right? To become a better parent for yourself, to become wholehearted, to
Yeah.
become a better lover.
Yeah.
We have this tendency. I think it starts in your 30s and it often locks in your 40s, and it's kind of like the traditional two types of people. There's the type of person who sort of figures out life well enough, and then they just kind of get into that groove, and things don't really change that much unless something, you know,
Catastrophic.
that's right, changes your path. And then there's the person like you, and I like to think I'm this person too, which is just like, okay, I did that. That was great. It was hard. I'm better off for it. What's next? And so like the idea of becoming a better lover in your 50s or 60s, I think is like a really exciting proposition. Because just like anything, like comedy, like giving speeches, like getting fit, with effort, with teaching, right? With feedback, which you get when you're having sex, by the way.
Yeah.
um, you can learn new things, and you can become better at these things. Like there's like that regular run of the mill sex that most people have. And then there's like the elite folks who are bringing, their
Damn it.
mind,
I'm
body,
going
and
to worry I'm
soul.
not going to make the cut. Okay,
Yeah.
say that again. Say that again. I stepped on your beautiful sentence.
Oh, it's okay. But there are these people who are bringing their mind, their body, their soul to
Yes.
this practice. And one of the beautiful things about it is it's mutually beneficial, that both you and your partner or partners are better off as a result of it, in the same way that you and an audience is better off when you get better at comedy.
Yeah. I like this idea. I know that as I'm getting closer to I always say I'm decomposing while alive. I feel like I'm getting more and more spiritual. That's where I'm wanting to
Yeah.
have, and, but I don't want to just have spiritual. I want to integrate all like you said, mind, body, and soul.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think, based on some of my reincarnation and past life regressions, that we came here to expand consciousness, and in lots of ways. And I am a lifelong learner, as I know you are, and you're a lifelong teacher as well, which is really cool because you pay it forward. You like, I want to learn, and then I'm going to teach. I'm going to learn. I'm going to teach, and you're doing this beautiful stair step. And I just want to honor that and respect it because
Thank you.
you have the discipline. I have all kinds of ideas, but I don't always. This is like I wanted to see if I could stick with this, and then I think I'm on my 47th episode.
Oh, that's good.
For me, it's really good with my ADHD, but that lets me know it is a calling for now. But I'm really impressed with. I know you hinted at it when you had the book signing party. That was so good, and when you introduced me, remember we should talk about that at the very end. But the fact that you said, you know, how much time, like it's a lot of work. I mean, this is a lot of work to write a book. I
couldn't have done it if I was married.
Well, depends on who you're married to, right? If you were married to another author who also went off and wrote a book.
Yes, perhaps that would be good. Sure, if you had a non-traditional marriage,
I
could have written this book because I would have said, honey, I need 135 days in which I will be largely absent.
Yes. And I think that's possible to find.
It's possible, but in a non-traditional relationship, because in a traditional relationship, that would be unacceptable.
Probably so.
Yeah.
I remember, this is maybe how I might know that I'm solo, and I do have trouble with closure, Pete. But I wanted to say, somehow it came to me. I remember with my ex-husband, when we were kind of trying desperately to find our connection again, and we were touring around the country, trying to figure out where we wanted to live. And we were down in the Keys. We were down at Key West, and I saw Ernest Hemingway's house. And his house, I was so jealous. I was jealous of a man, jealous that he got to do what he wanted to do. I think he had several different wives.
But his 4 wives, I think.
Yeah, and his house was set up where there was a catwalk that was separating the main house from where he did his writing. And I just remember, I want to be Ernest Hemingway. I'm not in so much in like a great writer, but I want that. Like, why can't I have 3 or 4 wives?
Well, he didn't have them at the same time, but
no. Yeah. Well, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I knew that when I saw that, and I knew that when I was so jealous, like, I just think he was an interesting role model right there. But
yes, indeed.
I'm just saying that space between the main house and his own sanctuary. I totally believe everyone should have their own sanctuary.
Well, the flip of this, and I'm sure you're a fan, is Virginia Woolf.
Oh.
Right, so Virginia Woolf wrote this book. It was a book called A Room of One's Own.
Yes.
And in it, she made the case for why women who, so it's kind of like this puzzle, like, why aren't there more women writers? Why aren't there more women artists? Why aren't these things? And Virginia was like, duh. It's because we're so busy caregiving and we don't have any place to be alone. And if you're going to be an artist, you need solitude. And so she made the case for having a room of one's own in it. And so, Ernest obviously had one of those, and Virginia had to make the case for why women needed those also. And which now you can, right? You've got a podcast studio of your own.
Nancy. Yeah, I created it here in my garage. And Pete, that is a perfect full circle that you make a case. I love that you make cases. Like, that's a thing. You make a case for solo life, for thinking differently about things. And I am convinced. I just want to say you've made a good case today. And if I've left you hanging on anything, please let me know. know.
Well, I think we should finish because the audience is like, what did he say when he introduced Nancy at the solo salon? So I think we should end with that story.
Okay, let's do that. Oh man, it was great. It was just like, and I don't miss much, right? So it's like, I know for you, it might, I don't even know what was really going on in your mind, but you were introducing me to a lovely woman there. I don't remember who she was because I, I forgot the rest of everything when you said, and this is Nancy Norton, and you did air quotes, and you said the talent. And I thought to myself, thank you. You just handed me my opening joke. I was like, I'm not letting, I go, the talent in quotes. That's how you see me, dude. But I don't play a violin or anything.
Yeah. And then, and so of course, when I introduced you to the audience, you roasted me for that, of course.
I did. I flipped you off with both hands.
Yes.
And I was like, and I get, I think I said, isn't he a great author? And I did air quotes. I mean, but that's the thing that's like, that what if I hadn't acknowledged that? What if I just sat with that and about it and like, fuck you, Pete, like, right. What if I just let that land in my body and turn all toxic? Because all of us that do this feel like we all feel like we're fakes, we all feel like posers and fakes. So there is a part of me going, well, he's probably right. I mean, is this talent? I don't know. I really do look at it as how connected are you to the subconscious, because the subconscious is genius. And so it's really about the interface. That's my theory about talent. All right. Well, that being said, I'm glad that you and I are friends. I know, likewise. We get in touch every couple of years, but let's keep at least the pattern going.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be on Traumedy. I'm really flattered that you would have me on here, and I'm glad that you stuck with it long enough that I could still be a guest.
Yes, it was. I know you're so busy. We've been trying for a little while, mm-hmm. And I mean, of all the guests, you're like the guest of guests because you wrote the book, The Humor Code, and you know the stuff. So thank you. I'm honored. Thank you so much, Pete. And maybe I'll see you out there in the tantric community.
Look out.
All right. Have a good evening and goodbye for now.
Cheers.
I want to thank my guest, Dr. Peter McGraw, for all the insights, all the laughs. Tune into his podcast, Solo, Living a Remarkable Life. Read his book, Solo, The Humor Code. I'll put links to all of that in the show notes. And I want to thank my son, Nathaniel Norton, who put together the music for Traumedy and also the music for a fun video that I produced advertising the Pride Fest comedy show that we're doing this weekend in Denver, June 22nd at the Bug Theater. Come out, laugh with us, celebrate diversity, come out to Nurses Off the Charts. Just remember, no matter what, keep laughing. A new episode every Tuesday. Tune in. It's Traumedy Tuesdays.